This is the champions. This is the UEFA Champions League football.
Nostalgia. How you put the column?
Breathtaking.
Charlie.
Unbelievable.
Nostalgia. Charlie. It's like
Crazy.
Goosebumps.
Insane. You see, you lack adjectives to describe what we witnessed in Paris on Tuesday night. An epic game of football, and that's the script you can never write. History made, but then for the neutrals and for the football lovers, certainly you were treated to some, wonderful game of football. It was a 9-goal thriller between two European giants, Paris Saint-Germain and then also Bayern Munich. And there's so many talking points from this game that we could discuss. Harry Kane getting, a goal in the game, chasing Kylian Mbappé, who is on 14 goals currently for the top scorers award in the UCL. Not just that, you also have Ousmane Dembele scoring twice, Kvaratskhelia scoring twice. You have Luis Diaz scoring an epic goal. And, let me welcome you to our Media Sports channel. Today we're here to review the UEFA Champions League. There's nothing like UEFA Champions League football. And I'm here with Atiga Maulifos and then also Courage. These are the guys who will be breaking down the game to your understanding. What did you miss? What didn't you see? The goals that were scored, the moment of the game. That is why we're here. My name is Josiah. Let's welcome the gentleman, but this is epic. I'll just take one word to describe the game we witnessed on Tuesday night. Just one word or one word each. Let me start with you, Atiga Maulifos. A word to describe what you witnessed on Tuesday.
Yesterday after the match, I tried to use my dictionary to find a word to describe it. You understand? And in all my years of learning literature, I could not find a word. I sincerely could not. I could not.
Charlie, do you know my new name?
Yeah.
Victor Kvaratskhelia. The guy they bought.
No, but let's talk. Let me begin with you, Atiga Maulifos. It's a night. They always tell us that the UEFA Champions League night are made for the big guns.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the gods actually come to show the signs that indeed they are football gods. And yes, of course, after what we witnessed on Tuesday night, you'd come to believe that this is pure football. But what did you see in that game?
Well, we have seen nights such as that. Man City scoring 2 goals in the 92nd, 93rd minute. You understand? But yesterday's football was, I would say, if to describe it in human elements, I would say it would be like drunkards throwing punches.
Oh,
yes, because it was uncoordinated.
Oh, figuratively.
Yes, it was uncoordinated because you see, let me be frank with you, okay? Prior to the game, anybody who understands and appreciates football know that the two teams have got so much quality when it comes to attacking football.
Yeah.
Do you understand? These two teams are the top highest scorers in the Champions League this season. These are teams that are scoring goals like it's nothing. Okay, so I expected a couple of goals, probably four goals in between the match. But what happened yesterday was a day that was fit for the girls themselves to enjoy football. You understand? Because to be sincere with you, when it was 5-2, a lot of people were questioning why PSG was still attacking.
Yeah.
You understand? Because if we were to be other coaches, they would have shut shop. Stay in the low block, stay in the defensive mode, and then hit Bayern on the counter attack because Bayern was going to come out. Because you see, from Burnley till Bayern, what's the name? Vincent Kompany had never played defensive football. That is his belief. You understand? Even when he was being beaten 6-0, 5-0, 4-0, when he was at Burnley, he did indicate that under no circumstances is he going to be a defensive coach. You understand? So yesterday I knew that it was going to be guns blazing It was going to be gun ho. It was going to be all attacking. But what really transpired yesterday is to tell people that football is to be enjoyed, no matter whether you are supporting or you are a neutral person. And yesterday was a typical day where attacking football was on display. People also are criticizing the defenders. The defensive play. But you see, would you rather play football to suit scoring goals or to suit defensive solidity? These are questions that experts will have to ask. To me, as a football pundit, to me as a football lover, I would rather watch goals compared to probably at the end of the day, I would say the keeper made 20 saves. That is not why we watch football. We watch football because we want to see the most difficult thing being done, and the most difficult thing being done in the football match is to score goals. And yesterday we saw close to 10 goals. You understand? Being scored, and you see, it is absolutely fantastic. As a football supporter and as a pundit, it is never going to happen in the near future.
Wow. 5-4, courage. 5-4. Epic.
Charlie, you blink, you miss.
Exactly.
Me, I was watching the ball when my Smalley called me. Hello, oh, go, Hurricane. What? You see, football, this is why we watch football. You want to enjoy certain moments. You want to live by certain moments. You want certain things to be with us forever. Oh, why do you like football? Because of a player like Usman Dembele, who is very, very ambipedal. Why do you watch football? Because there's a certain goal scoring machine like Hurricane. Why do you watch football? Because there's a certain guy with so much flair like Michael Olise. Did you watch that goal that Luis Diaz scored?
Yeah.
Pure art of work.
Yeah.
You see, these are moments. These are the specific reasons why we leave everything. We put everything aside, including orgasm, to watch football for 90 minutes. We could have continued watching this game for close to 5 hours, and I would never get bored.
Exactly. Yeah.
Goals after goals. See, many people were criticizing the defense structure of both teams, but then why not credit the attacking forces as well?
And you see, funny enough, the goals scored were not tappings.
No. These were very crucial.
Of the highest quality.
Yes.
Goals,
You understand? Quality goals.
Yes.
So it just adds to the fact that attacking football yesterday came to the party.
We've been missing this kind of football.
But tactically, you look at the two coaches, and even though Vincent Kompany wasn't on the touchline, Luis Enrique was there. But would you give credit to Kompany with how?
Josiah, let me cut you short. Sometimes forget tactics. It is pure quality.
Yes, individual brilliance.
It is. See, we accept the fact that coaching is very important.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? But with the talent on display, we can like a day or 2 days prior to the match, you can tell the two coaches not to teach tactics, and you're still going to enjoy the football.
Sure.
Do you understand me? You see, sometimes you don't necessarily have to coach tactics. Let the talent of the players come to the party.
How can you tell me I'm going to coach Leo Messi? I'm going to arrange tactics for Leo Messi.
You know, like what's the name? Gareth Bale did say.
I'm not cutting you short. I remember one day there was one interview among one Chelsea player. Is it Michael? No, is it Makelele or either Chelsea or Real Madrid? Or it's either Makelele when he was playing for Chelsea or when he was playing for Real Madrid. And he said, "Come on, for the whole 1 hour prior to the match, we were in the dressing room. Jose Mourinho was our coach, and then we were planning on how to mark out Leo Messi. We got onto the pitch, and then his first touch, we just signaled him that this guy he will not be able to mark. So you just let's allow him play his match, and then let's also focus on our gameplay. He cannot coach talent. He cannot tell a certain player like Eden Hazard, oh, when you get the ball, play this way. How are you going to coach players? Like, even if your tactics is the personnel that fit in, that makes your tactics work, right? So how are you going to coach Michael Olise? Olise, by all means, when he gets the ball, he will feint here and then go this way. That has been his trick all this while. So how are you going to tell him that do this instead of this? Or Charlie, continue.
No, you see, you can coach players. I'm not saying that you can coach players. I get to the point. You coach players and you make them better, right? But you don't have to negate their talent. For example, a coach can tell Hurricane to not drop deep, to stay up front. I get to the point. When you do that, then you are going to negate his personal ability. Look at the range of passing he does. Look at the pass he gives to Diaz.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? So you will have to tweak your tactics to fit the players that you have. And that's exactly what Vincent Kompany has been able to do. He knows that he's got so much attacking talent in his team. You've got Musiala, you've got Harry Kane, you've got Luis Diaz, you've got Michael Olise. And if you want to be in the defensive block, or if you want to be even in the low block, all these 4 talents are going to be negated. So why don't you go gun-ho? Why don't you play serious attacking football? Then you become the Galacticos in the early 2000s, where if you want to win a match, then you will have to outscore your opponent.
Yeah.
I get to the point. And that's exactly what we saw yesterday. And that's exactly what we have seen throughout the season. They've been scoring goals for fun. Because if you go to the German Bundesliga and realize that they've broken the goal tally. They currently have about, I think, 140 or so. So it just tells you that this season they have been there. And you see, we have enjoyed.
Their front liners only have 100 goals.
So we have absolutely enjoyed their football, and it goes also to authenticate the fact that they are not only dominating in the German Bundesliga, but when they come to the European stage, they are able to transform that dominance in the German Bundesliga. Because nobody can tell me that PSG is not a solid team, because they are the current Champions League winners, and for Bayern to come at them and then get 4 goals, at 5-2, somebody might have said that, okay, Bayern would have considered a lot more, even though they nearly considered the game, but they went out there trying to get more goals. And you see, the interesting thing is that the second leg might see 10 or 9 goals again.
Now, let's talk a bit about the second leg. Does this give us any indication how the second leg will be like, Courage?
I don't see more goals flowing in the second leg, because they'll be very, very conscious. They'll revisit the video or the game they played just yesterday. So they will be very, very conscious. They only want to concede such goals again, such amount of goals again. So both teams right now, PSG are on top. They have 1 point ahead, 1 goal, ahead. So they'll be very, very cautious. They want to maybe score just about 1 or 2 and then be able to protect or carry on the win. So and then Bayern will also want to score more, but then will Upamecano and co also be able to prevent Kvaratskhelia and co from scoring. So I think this time around, more focus or more input will be going in on strengthening the defense line. And then the front liners also, in as much as they will try, I just have a feeling that the number of goals we recorded in the first round will be less in the second round.
Interesting. But first, what are we looking at in the second leg? Vincent Kompany returns to the lineup, but then that could be the only major boost for Bayern Munich. Musiala started, he wasn't as sharp as we thought he would be, but then certainly the magical, works from Olise, Diaz, Aikins continues. What are we looking at in the second leg?
We are not expecting it in the fairness. I mean, the first leg is a precursor for what is going to happen. If you want to see a typical precedence to what is going to happen next week, Wednesday, we should watch the match between PSG and Chelsea, the second leg. Even after leading in the first leg, they went to Stamford Bridge and then stepped on the gas. You understand? So it just tells you that even though they are leading by 5 goals to 4, they are not going to be defensive, because they don't have the solidity to be defensive for 90 minutes against Bayern. And no team is going to be defensive against Bayern and be successful. You understand? So what is going to happen again is that both teams are going to go at each other's throat. Both teams are, you can build a tactical system that is going to shore up your defense. You understand me? But when you have brilliance across the front line against the team you are going to face, it's going to be difficult for you to keep a clean sheet. And I can tell you for the fact that we are not going to see anything less than 5 goals next week.
Wow.
It is impossible, because you know what? Chances are going to be created. And loads of chances are going to be created. Bayern will come out gun blazing. PSG is not going to recoil. PSG will also come out gun blazing. So should we not be able to see a lot more goals? There is going to be the fact that the players will be missing the chances. But I doubt, with the quality that both teams have, we would have to see a lot of goals.
All right, so semi-final one, but then the second semi-final also happened at the Riyadh Air Metropolitano. Atletico Madrid also holding Arsenal to a 1-1 draw. And interestingly, both teams had to score from the penalty spot to get their goal. So you have Victor Gyökeres scoring on the stroke of halftime, and then 5-10 minutes into the second half, you have Julian Alvarez also equalizing, heading into a second leg at the Emirates in London. Now, quickly, were you expecting such a cagey game? Because don't forget that in the group stages, we saw Arsenal batter Atletico 4-0. But were you expecting such a scoreline?
Obviously, yes, because you look at this stage is far different from the first phase, which is the group stages where they initially met. Because in the group stages, you can even afford to lose 3 matches and still manage to qualify. But in this stage, you lose, you are going straight home. The scoreline wasn't so surprised because I knew both teams were going to come out with a very low block. Scoring the first goal, I knew very well that it was going to be lesser goals because the best that would come out is Atletico equalizing, and then what's next? I Arsenal didn't have the firepower up front there. Atletico needed to score more, but then they going down first was what really brought their morale down and cool. So going to the second leg, I don't think Atletico will survive because this is a team that barely score goals. Yes, they beat Barca 2-0 in the first half, but then it was because of circumstances. Barca had 2 red cards and stuff. But then going into this particular game against Arsenal, what was stopping you from winning your the first leg at home?
Exactly.
Having players like Julian Alvarez, Ademola Lookman, and then Griezmann. These are players who are capable of scoring, but then you assemble them in a very low block, and then at the end of the day, it's only defending. Arsenal even did well by surging forward in multiple occasions. They even had the second penalty, which was cancelled eventually. So I don't think Madrid are ready for business this particular season with the kind of football they are playing.
All right, but Force, Atletico de Madrid, yeah. If this game had been played 4 months ago, or even 3 months ago, you'd be thinking no chance Atletico de Madrid. But then that's one of the teams that they do not care where they play. They are always a force to reckon with. 1-1 against Arsenal. Does that leave the door wide open for Atletico de Madrid?
The door is open for both teams, you understand? Because to be sincere with you, I mean, as the season comes to an end, Arsenal is losing form. Because if you look at the form that Arsenal started the season with, it is not the same form that they are currently in.
Yeah.
You might ascribe that to the content of matches that they've played, or even to injuries. You understand? These things do happen in football, but at the end of the day, the baseline is that is why you need quality. That is why you have money to spend. So I wouldn't say that is an excuse. But if you look critically at the match, you realize that both teams cancelled each other out. Defensively, they were astute. Attacking wise, not enough or not many chances were created, and that is to be expected because this is Atletico Madrid that do not really play flamboyant football. That is not really going to be on the attacking front. But when they went a goal down in the second half, they come out gun blazing a bit. They got a couple of chances, but they were not able to put it away. But at the end of the day, I would say that for both teams that was a good scoreline. They have another 90 minutes and probably another 30 minutes when it goes to extra time. But I think that at the Emirates, Arsenal should have enough more firepower than Atletico Madrid. But what is going to count more is the experience, because Atletico Madrid can hold Arsenal till extra time, you understand? But the question is that would Arsenal be able to function chances? You see, apart from the penalty that they scored, Arsenal did not really create anything meaningful. That is why leaders like Saka would have to come to the party. And I have been disappointed in the output of Madueke. Because the reason for which he was brought to Arsenal is to deputize for Saka when he's injured. And every single match that he has played this season, he has been woeful, he has been shambolic, he's been poor. So you then realize that they missed the impact of Saka in the games, So he's not adding the numbers in terms of goals, in terms of assists, in terms of creativity in the attacking third. That is the reason for which you were brought. So you see that there's a drop off in quality when Saka is not playing, especially on the right hand side. So if Saka is able to start the game against Atletico Madrid in the second leg, I think that the tide might favor Arsenal a bit.
All right, so it's still open though. It's still open, both semi-final games. Yeah, interesting games, especially on Tuesday night. We'll witness an epic game. For the first time in the history of the UEFA Champions League, 5 goals were scored in the first 45 minutes of a game. Interesting. Then we saw 9 goals in one game. But then the Wednesday game was a bit calm, where the chances were just, few in that game. 1-1, it ended between Atletico Madrid and then also Arsenal. But that is all to play for. And don't forget to keep following our media. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us across the various social media handles. Join our Predict and Win, and you can make yourself rich by just predicting correctly. My name is Josiah, and thanks to my pundit for the day, Atiga, and then also Courage. We're not gone, because next week after the games, we'll be right here to discuss the grand finale of the UEFA Champions League.